Hey everyone, Kommie here. I hope you enjoyed my previous video talking about the Modern Warfare 2 beta. And if you haven't seen it, I will link it and recommend you watch it first to hear about the negatives of the game before you hear what they got right with this iteration of Call of Duty. From 2009 till around the beginning of 2013, I lived and breathed Call of Duty as a kid growing up. I was not allowed to own Call of Duty until my parents bought it for me on Christmas Day 2010. They bought me Call of Duty Black Ops 1, and I remember playing zombies on Kino der Toten with my brother, and we were genuinely afraid of the zombies and wanted to keep playing, but lost on purpose because we were so scared. Then the following year, in 2011, Modern Warfare 3 came out, and it's safe to say that I haven't enjoyed playing the video game that much at launch until Thursday night for the Modern Warfare 2 beta. The theme of today's video is exciting. I have not been that excited to play a video game after putting it down Thursday night in a long time. Some games have come close, but the feeling of leveling up and unlocking new weapons in a Call of Duty has always had a special place in my heart and many people alike. I felt like a 12-year-old playing Modern Warfare 3 during the week on a Tuesday when I know I was not allowed to play video games until Friday after school. Yes, I was not allowed to play Xbox for 4 days of the week growing up, so the weekend was the only time I was allowed to play. So what did I do? I played 12 hours throughout the weekend, and then come Sunday, and I was still playing. I got yelled at to finish my homework. It is really hard to define who at Activision is ultimately making this game, since they practically hired on every one of their studios to develop. But I'm going to point towards Infinity Ward, since they made the predecessor to this game and are my favorite studio under Activision for making Call of Duty. I was beyond excited this Friday to play Call of Duty after Thursday night. I'm going to finally tell you why. Infinity Ward has nailed weapon design in every regard. The gunplay, and what I mean by that is how it feels to shoot the weapon, the sound of the weapon, the look of the weapon, and how each of the guns have a unique profile and feel to them. They've also figured out an evolved gunsmith from Modern Warfare 2019 and have perfected a system. I know the UI is rough and I've complained about it before, but the weapon platform system is really genius. In Modern Warfare, you could build an SMG build or you could build an M16 build, but now you can just select an individual receiver and you can really tailor the weapon in any direction you would like. The crazy thing is, in the beta, we did not even have all the customization options. I think the biggest game changer may end up being the ammo types. And a couple of weapons allowed you to change the ammo types in the beta, but I feel like you're going to be able to really make your weapon have the ability to do exactly what you want with it once the game has launched. The weapon balance was not perfect during the beta. The Lockman did run house, and I felt like a couple of the platforms for weapons were a little overshadowed by other counterparts, but the diversity in the beta was just amazing. The base Vector, the 74U, and the Scar, from what I saw, all still held their own without having crazy customization. The weapons felt great and were fun to use. I was trying so many different builds, trying to see what was fun, and also trying to figure out where the meta might head, which I feel like we all have an idea if you played the beta. While testing out a bunch of these different weapons, I was running around on all of the new maps that they showed off during the beta. And I have to say, from the 6v6 standpoint, they've really stepped up their game from the last Modern Warfare. Farm 19 is the best map to come out of Infinity Ward in probably a decade. The flow of the maps felt like an older Call of Duty. I had a great feeling where the enemies were and where they were spawning. And these maps featured many great options, traversing them in a sneaky way without giving campers too many great spots to hide. The maps are not perfect in my opinion, but I enjoyed all of the maps I played in the 6v6 modes. And if the other maps hold up to those during the launch of the game, I think the player base will be very pleased. As for the ground war and invasion map, it definitely needs some work. I think from an outsider's view, having the ability to go into literally every single building on a map and having a bunch of verticality and having a great sort of detail, a great amount of detail is a great idea. In practice, it could have gone much better. I still had fun running around, capping objectives, and taking down players and UI between the two modes. Don't get me wrong. But I think they need to cut down on the number of buildings and alleyways. The mindset of less is more, I feel like, would solve some problems and bring more people to these game modes instead of TDM having like 60% of the multiplayer fan base. Speaking of game modes, holy crap. Prisoner Rescue is an absolute ball. Probably the best game mode since Kill Confirmed, which I feel like Infinity Ward in 2011 had a lot going for them, even though half the team left. But I have not played WarZone recently, but I guess the whole GoPro spectator cam is like there, and I think it is the single best quality of life change in COD. Using points for scoring instead of rounds makes every round feel like you could swing the tide back to your team, especially on offense. And keeping in revives and capping it to once a round for each player is perfect. I've never cared much for search and destroy. It has always felt like more appropriate for tactical shooters like CS and Rainbow Six, but this is the exact spin it needed for an arcade shooter. The very first time I played it, my team won 500 to 450 in the last round, and my teammate clutched up in a 1v2 scenario, and it was so exciting to spectate that. The only time I've spectated someone while watching a video game or Valorant or anything of that sort was during a clutch situation like that. But with Prisoner Rescue, it always feels like a clutch situation because of the revive system and trying to rescue the prisoners. That's enough about Prisoner Rescue. As for Invasion, it was fun and interesting for sure. I think the AI to help speed up the rounds and give less skilled players a way to contribute is definitely a good decision. The care packages near the end of the match are really fun, and that is actually how I got my first gunship, which was really fun to use. And the vehicles I'm indifferent to, but I play a lot of squad, and the vehicles in that game are much better, so it's hard to compete with that. Overall, I think Invasion is a good addition to the game, and I think on the right map it'll play really well. Ground War felt a little more fun than Modern Warfare 2019's, but I also can't remember the last time I played it, if I'm being honest. But the vehicles definitely felt way more annoying than on an Invasion, but capping a position with your squad feels way better than it does in Domination. It could use some work, but definitely something worth trying with your friends. Speaking of playing with friends, I think WarZone 2.0, or whatever they're calling it, has a lot of hype around it, and it has a lot to live up to. The first iteration of WarZone, the very first launch of it, was the best in my opinion, and it went downhill after that, especially once the Cold War integration happened. Verdansk was pretty great the first time around, and the changes that came with Cold War were disappointing, and Caldera was an absolute mess once Vanguard dropped. I know some people think the triple circle idea is lame, but I personally think it's going to be a good idea to try and split teams up. Forcing players to be uncomfortable results in frustrating situations initially, but over time, I ultimately think people will grow and learn to love the change. I'm not up to date on all the changes on WarZone, but I'm really excited and definitely willing to give it another try. An exciting addition is the brand new extraction sort of game mode titled DMZ. They have not released a whole lot of details, but from what I've heard, I believe it will be set on the same map as the WarZone map. It will be free to play, and it spices up the traditional extraction formula. I will personally be playing this mode, and I'm excited to play with my friends, and I think you guys should too. I could go into the campaign and other things, but I'll save that for when it comes out. You guys could look forward to me playing it and releasing videos on it because I'm currently going through the Modern Warfare 2019's campaign to catch up on the story. Thank you guys for watching this video. I am really enjoying planning these videos out and trying to be more creative in the process as opposed to being creative during work. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and comment down anything you'd like to see Call of Duty related or video games in general. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.